I'd like us to look at mirath more closely as it relates to non-Muslims, Brother Ibrahim. There are those who say there is no inheritance. Where does this come from? What's the evidence for saying that mirath cannot go to non-Muslims? Because the verses in the Quran that talk about mirath do not themselves stipulate the religion of the beneficiaries. When it says the father or the mother or the grandparents or the son, the daughter, it doesn't say the Muslim father, the Muslim son. How do the majority conclude that it is for Muslims only? And that mirath cannot be interfaith?
Yeah, majority of scholars are coming from the background of, there's a hadith in Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari, that say la yarisul kafiru musliman wala al-muslimu kafira. This clear, this categorical. That neither should a Muslim inherit a non-Muslim, nor a non-Muslim inherit from a Muslim. This hadith is authentic, and because it is very straightforward in its own text and wordings, scholars go by that. Also, you have a hadith in Sunan Abi Dawud, where the Prophet ﷺ say difference in religion, okay, it's a reason, justification to deny somebody inheritance. In other words, no inheritance once you have difference in religion. That this is reported by Imam Ahmad and Abu Dawud. Okay? However, you have scholars that are saying that's the majority opinion. But some others look beyond just the wordings of the hadith and try to go to what is the rationale. Why should the Prophet say that? And so they come up with the idea that refer only to hostile non-Muslims. If they've not been hostile, you can give them, because they look at it that if somebody is hostile to you on account of you being a Muslim, how do you empower him from your wealth? Okay? So, based on that, if there is no hostility, an apostate son can actually inherit from his father. A non-Muslim father can inherit from his son. This is another opinion. They said because there is no explicit evidence, that all evidence advanced for prohibition are debatable when we subject them to the clarity of their meaning. So based on that, they are saying if somebody is not a haribi, he can inherit. Once there is peaceful coexistence, you can inherit. So this is where they are coming from. Those that are saying they can, they go straight to the point, and they were more textual. Where those that are saying no, they were looking at it from the rationale. And actually they have some of the Sahabas that had the same or held the same opinion. That, yeah, so they rule that you can give inheritance to a non-Muslim on the fact that he is not hostile and some of these. Particularly where he is coming from a disadvantaged position. Yes.
So what you're saying is, even though we have hadith that appear clear,
Yes.
that a Muslim doesn't inherit from a non-Muslim, and the word there is la yarithul mu'min al-kafir, and vice versa. And the other hadith you quoted, no inheritance between religions. We still have difference of opinions among companions, because those hadiths seem to suggest Muslim can't inherit from non-Muslim, and non-Muslim cannot inherit through mirath.
Yes.
Or the other way. But what you're saying is people who left Islam, and you say therefore are not Muslims, it was allowed for their families to inherit from them. So a Muslim therefore is inheriting from a non-Muslim. You also mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ had no problem with hypocrites who passed away, but Muslims inheriting from them, even though in their heart, and the Prophet knew who these people were. The fact that in their hearts they were not Muslims, it didn't stop Muslims from inheriting. The issue I want to pick on, what's the issue about kafir? Why do some conclude that even though it says a Muslim doesn't inherit from a kafir, nor a kafir from a Muslim, how did they conclude that kafir here applies only to haribi? In other words, it's hostile and not just all non-Muslims like Ahl Dhimma.
Yeah, because there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that say you don't kill a kafir for a Muslim. And from the practical application of the hadith, it was clearly understood that kafir here means a haribi, a hostile. Else, you have the Ahl Dhimma and others where the Prophet ﷺ actually vow to stand and defend their rights and warn seriously in strong terms that any Muslim that kill them, he will be his adversary on the day of judgment. So the word kafir here is actually, they compare the hadith to where the Prophet say you don't kill a kafir for a Muslim to mean a hostile kafir. Because you have another case of prophets advocating and speaking in favor of or in defense of the kuffar, even though they are kuffar, but because they are peaceful kuffar, they are Ahlul Zimma, they are non-Muslim citizens that have agreed to live in peace with Muslims. Yes.
So here we are looking, so if I understand what you're saying, there are other hadith like the one you quoted where the Prophet ﷺ said a Muslim is not killed
for killing a kafir,
nor a mu'ahid killed for killing a kafir. And the context seems to suggest that there is therefore a difference between the use of the word kafir and the use of the word mu'ahid, because both of them are non-Muslims.
Non-Muslims, really.
But it's understood that the term kafir is specific to hostile non-Muslims, whereas a mu'ahid, similar to Ahl Dhimma, are those who are at peace with Muslims. They've got peace treaties.
Exactly.
And so since the word kafir can be hostile non-Muslims, when it comes to the statement a Muslim doesn't inherit from a kafir, nor the other way around, you're saying there's this understanding that this hadith may be referring to hostile non-Muslims, not just all non-Muslims.
Yes, and that's why those scholars took that position.
And the minority opinion looked at it that a Muslim can still inherit from a person of another faith, and that these hadith actually don't come in the way if there's no hostility. What would you add to this discussion?
Taking it from where you have just stopped, and because there is this opportunity of giving different meaning to the word kafir, then that does not make it a clear text anymore. And you will see from there that some difference of opinion emanates. Like you would have Sayyidina Umar, you will have the persons like Mu'az, you have among the children of the companions like Ali ibn Hussein, and back you have the types of like Muhammad ibn Hanafiya, and also in the close by have people like Ibn Taymiyyah who have the opinion, or all the opinion that, like Ibn Qayyim or related, that that hadith is open to say because kafir they are used, then it has to be that person who is hostile. Once you are not hostile, then there's that peaceful coexistence between you, then you can inherit him. In fact, like Umar and Umar and Mu'az are saying that, okay, for them, because I became a Muslim and my parents are not Muslim, Islam increases and does not decrease. So I should be given the opportunity, because once my father is not the hostile type, because like mi'irath or inheritance is like the deceased giving a gift, but that gift is only going to be given after his death, though it is prescribed by Allah Ta'ala as something that is compulsory. Now they look at it that, what if he were to be alive and is not hostile, can he still give me his wealth? If yes, then of course, even at the end, since that is, but if there was to be hostility between us, then if he were to be, will he give me? Then naturally no. Therefore, then the hostile parents or hostile parents of that are non-Muslim, I will not inherit from them.
So this is like reasoning by qiyas, by analogy.
Yes.
Okay.
And Ibn Taymiyyah also said, okay, it is open to this difference of opinion, and any issue that is open to difference of opinion that is not within the clear text, then there is a need to be very careful, and at most you take it based on case by case position. You look at what is the case here, and you don't just give a blanket judgment to all of it. You treat it case by case. And of course, even scholars of hadith try to do what we call a gem, bringing the understanding of the different hadiths together, and then came up with the position that, okay, then it means, okay, kafir is not just kafir, because of the hadith Malam Ibrahim Bello quoted about not killing a Muslim or a mu'ahid. A mu'ahid is also a kafir, but of course qualified as a mu'ahid because we have that treaty, we have that covenant among ourselves to live peacefully. Then if he kill a kafir, then that person who is hostile to us, then he will not be killed. That means even the kuffar are of different position. So this is, therefore it is not correct totally in their view that you say give just a general judgment that nobody should inherit. And of course, we also know that the issue of miras through wasiya, we again remember that in the past we said it is open to all. So that is not in context here, because you will see some people who are even saying no, even since he's a hostile kafir, of course some scholars say even wasiya you will not get because he is a kafir, but that does not hold water. And on the final note on this, we need to be very, very careful when we talk about, like if you look at the book of Al-Qardawi, you will see that the book is the fiqh of minority, fiqh al-aqliyat. You will see that he explained a lot of positions, and in the end he also made conclusion that you do not just give an overall position on, you would base it on case by case. What is the situation here? Sometimes you will even look at the maslaha of the ummah. If we say you don't inherit, will that promote people accepting Islam, or would that inhibit? Would that prevent people? I'm going to lose becoming a Muslim, then I'm losing what I'm entitled to. So there are those things like that. Then you need to look at it critically, and of course, even to those who, like I said, those who are in the Muslim minority area. If you said if you become a Muslim, then all your relationship, all you would enjoy has gone. Then you're not promoting that continuous expansion, and of course, people accepting. They see it as Islam is like reducing what my rights, like taking away what my rights are from me. So we have to be very careful in what we say or what we do as far as this. It is open to scholarly ijtihad of that particular environment and of that particular moment. They look at the context and then give what is best. Allahu A'lam.
So what I understand from both of you, there's no difference of opinion. Muslims can benefit from mirath. Muslims benefit from mirath. Muslims can also benefit from wasiya.
Yes.
Where there's a difference of opinion, there's also no difference of opinion that non-Muslims can benefit from wasiya.
Wasiya will.
The difference comes on whether non-Muslims could benefit from mirath. And what you're saying is the key wording in the hadith that a Muslim doesn't inherit from a kafir, it's how to reconcile that meaning with other evidences and positions of Sahaba who considered some form, at least they would consider it permissible for a Muslim to inherit from a non-Muslim, even if they didn't accept the other way around. But for some, the fact that from the Hanafi point of view, the interpretation of the hadith, a Muslim is not killed, nor is a mu'ahid killed for killing a kafir, that distinction creates a diversity of views in the interpretation of the hadith that says a Muslim is prohibited from inheriting a kafir, or the other way around, that there the word kafir is understood to mean a hostile non-Muslim, not just any non-Muslim like Ahl al-Dhimma or mu'ahid. In other words, those who are living with
Peace
Muslims
treaty.
peacefully. Yeah, we have peace treaties. So there is a diversity of opinions on that issue. Of course, where the non-Muslim is hostile towards the Muslim, I guess most of them would sometimes bring the verse in Mumtahina, إِنَّمَا يَنْهَاكُمُ اللَّهُ أَنَّ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ وَأَخْرَجُوكُم مِّن دِيَارِكُمْ, that regarding those who have been hostile towards you, they have fought you, they've driven you out of your homes, they've aided others in doing so, those are the ones that you do not go to in friendship, or you don't benefit such people that are actually going to use these resources against you. Having said that, so okay, there's difference of opinion on some of these issues, but there seems to be straightforward regarding a non-Muslim can inherit from wasiyah.
Yes.
In practical life, these minority opinions sometimes do not hold water. Yeah, they don't survive the criticisms of others. So even though you could argue academically that there is a basis for a difference of opinion, this may not stand in a court like here, where it's predominantly Maliki, or in Malaysia or Indonesia, where it's predominantly Shafi, or other places. For Muslims living in these contexts who would not want to die and deprive their parents or their spouses
Or their children.
what are the options in Islamic law if I were married, for example, to a Christian wife, and if my parents, my mother was a non-Muslim, and I was wealthy, and I'm concerned that if I pass away, they will not inherit according to the law of the land, except through wasiyah, for example, if that's already an area of consensus. But what are my options as a Muslim who would want family members to benefit from more than 1/3? I can put wasiyah, but if most of my relatives are actually non-Muslims and I want them to gain, what are my options?
Well, the options are, of course, if it depends on if you are the Muslim and the relatives are non-Muslims. Number one, because you will not be there, they need to educate them that this is what my provision from my religion vis-a-vis the provision of the law of the land, and to also take a position, okay, and possibly write the will, particularly where you know the position you think you hold might not hold water, okay, in the eyes of the law of the land. So it's educate them, okay, express your position, and possibly put down the will into writing. And also be very careful, because like in Nigeria, for instance, if somebody is a Muslim and live in Southeast, and you don't write a will and you die, you go by the law of the land. That's the rule. So if you know you're in these kind of disadvantaged areas, they need to put it down. Even if you are a Muslim, they don't care. I've gotten a situation where a monarch passed away, and he is a Muslim. He's the only Muslim, so wealthy. And they now ask a Muslim scholar, what do we do? Alhamdulillah, he was wise enough and broad, and Allah gave him knowledge. And he thought he should share the estates according to the dictates of Islam to the heirs. Maybe this was some of the things he considered. Wallahu alam.
So, Malam Ibrahim, you've told us about the importance of educating family members, of factoring in the law of the land. It may be favorable, it may not be favorable to your plans. Malam Jamil, what practical advice would you give for Muslims living in Muslim majority societies where the majority opinion is what will be followed, and these people would want family members to benefit? What are the options available for non-Muslims to inherit or benefit from the wealth of a Muslim?
Just going by what Malam Ibrahim has said, having studied the law of the land, and you know that it will go not the way you would have loved, then you have a number of options. One of it is make a wasiyah, make a will, put it down. This is what I want. But in that again, you might be constrained by, well, you have given more than a third. So the next option, which will give you free hand, is during your lifetime. Give a gift. For a gift, there is no restriction to what is the quantity or what is the quantum of your wealth that you can gift out. So only that you also be considerate of those who are going to enjoy it. So at least you give it to them, or you put up like a work of a trust, like a family trust. Of course, for instance, you have your children or your relatives who are non-Muslim who will not inherit, or your wife, and you can just put off, okay, this is an estate I've put down, and it is meant to service this and that of so and so persons. It's clear that even if you die, that is not part of what, because work are not inherited. So anything that has gone to our calf is there. You can even say what should happen to it at the end, even if the condition you tied it to has expired. You can say, okay, afterward, I dash it out to so, or it should be given to so and so endowment or anything like that. That's another way. Then you can also do, while alive, give your gift. And as a Muslim, you can look at, like, Allah Ta'ala's aba'uhum wa abna'uhum. Is it the children or the parents? You don't know who are akrabu minhum nafa, isn't it? Those who are more. So you look at what is the position of Islam as to how you share your wealth. And then, because the law of the land, like for instance in South, is whatever you have written down is what will be followed, then you just say, okay, when I die, I'm willing that this person be given this part of my wealth, this part of this portion, this portion, this portion, and then it goes like that. And you can also put a combination of some of these that we have mentioned. You have a work, you have gifts, you have wasiya. Before you know it, you would have benefited your relatives maximally, that even if they were to be of the same faith with you, they might not get enjoying the much that they will enjoy through this. So in a way, it is like an advantage to even those who are not going to inherit, that they get more than those who are going to inherit, just to keep that tie of relationship. Allah.
So this is I think very useful practical advice, especially where you are the only Muslim in the family and you would like to benefit your family, especially if they are not wealthy. So you said part of it can go through wasiya, will. You can actually consider giving more, and that's probably good advice for anybody, irrespective of the religion, because of the kind of conflict and breaking up of family members that sometimes happens when you leave a lot of wealth behind. And it's going to be shared. The need to look at, can you help them while you are alive instead of waiting till you are dead before they start to benefit? Some people, would actually appreciate it if you gave it out while you were alive. Of course, you've mentioned the area of endowment, waqf, where there's an administrator, and that's given while you are alive for a particular cause and purpose. And you've mentioned this question of combination. For judges, of course, it would be one where it's istihsan, where the judge will look at the context and decide what is in the best interest of the family, what's in the best interest of the heirs, what's closest to equity and goodness and virtue in that context. But of course, one should not handle one's estate in a way that is unfair to a family member, or where you deprive those who would get mirath, those who would inherit by any other means. In other words, not to use any of these as loopholes to avoid responsibility, but they need to be God conscious in ensuring fairness through all of these. I'd like to thank both of you for your contributions to this subject, where we've looked at the importance of keeping and holding, and respecting and nurturing the ties of kinship, that our goodness to members of our families, the extended family, is not dictated dependent on what's their religion, but as a Muslim, it is your duty, irrespective of the faith of others. And even when they show hostility, you should try and be more forgiving. You should be more accommodating. Just don't allow negative influences to take you away. And on the issue of inheritance, non-Muslims can inherit from Muslims through a will. And there are other ways of benefiting non-Muslim family members, but the need to always be fair and just in how we handle our estate while we're alive, and of course, even when we pass away. Jazakumullahu khairan. Thank you very much, Brother Ibrahim Bello, Brother Muhammad Jamil. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.